Well, friends, it's the 27th of October, and we are standing on the precipice of the biggest Black Swan false flag event in human history. One that has the potential of exterminating the majority of humanity. And that'd be you and your children, too. You're not going to be immune. None of us are. What am I talking about? Well, there's a lot of information you're not getting. You're never going to get, because your corporate media, corporate political, it's all the same. And they filter out everything you don't need to know as far as they're concerned. Well, like the fact that they're rushing toward World War III. So, okay, so let's begin. And this is coming to you from your favorite murderous leech, little dictator, out in the dictatorship of Ukraine. The country that has banned all political opposition, has nationalized all media, has stolen the property of any political opponent, murdered dozens of them, those that weren't lucky enough to run, kills journalists, and just murders civilians on an everyday basis. Not to mention, I mean, they do raids in the cities where they grab people's phones, open them up, and if it looks like something that's pro-Russian, or they're talking to their Russian relatives, and the vast majority of Ukrainians have Russian relatives, they're arrested on the spot and disappeared. That's modern day Ukraine. At best, if it's a man, he may wind up on the front lines as meat for the slaughter. At best. And he might have some chance, however slim. But the majority have just disappeared. And this is the Western values. Those are modern Western values. Absolutely. The ones that are coming to you faster than you can even imagine. So what is this Black Swan event, and why is it important? The period of importance, a critical period that we're going to be living through, is up to the American elections, 8th of November. So from today, really not even today, the countdown's already going, through to the 8th, we may be at best in a full-scale conventional war with NATO, at worst in a nuclear catastrophe. Catastrophe, I mean extermination of humanity. And your satanic owners are ready to go along with this. So what am I talking about? There's a reason that America's leadership and its meat puppets in Europe have endlessly been squawking about if Putin uses a tactical nuclear weapon. They've been laying this groundwork of a nuclear tactical weapon for the better part of the last 4.5 to 5 months. And there's a reason for that, to get it in your heads. First of all, Russia wouldn't use a tactical nuclear weapon. We have absolutely no reason. There's going to be a winter offensive. There are 2 tank armies lined up in the north and the south. The Ukrainians are out of reserves again. They're throwing whatever meat they can find, and whatever Americans, yesterday American soldier, tomorrow contractor in Ukraine's army. Oh, there's plenty of those guys getting massacred right now. The Poles are the biggest ones they're fighting right now. And there's whole battalions of them. They're getting hit hard. They're specifically being targeted. You think they've got some kind of cover? No, they're target number 1. Ahead of any Ukrainian units, even the Ukrainian Nazis, will be Poles and anybody else. There's plenty of them. I mean, there's fast buses going from Germany for the Nazis to filter into through Poland and straight into Ukraine. Birds of a feather and all that. So there's no reason, there's no strategic reason for us to drop a bomb on an army that's basically defeated. There's no tactical reason to drop a nuclear bomb, even a tactical nuclear weapon, especially when you consider the fact that this is our land. This is all Russian land, artificially separated from Russia by Lenin in 1921 when he created Ukraine. So we're not going to drop a nuke anywhere on our own lands. I mean, we'd have to be idiotic. Okay, well, we'd have to be Anglos, but we're not Anglos. We're not Germans. We're not going to do something like that. We're not Westerners. We don't think like Westerners. We're a Christian nation. We're sure as hell not going to do it. But they're building the groundwork for claiming that. And what they did, well, I mean, they tried to blow up. They tried to blow up the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. They failed. Particularly not the nuclear power plant. The nuclear power plant's actually pretty hard to blow up. Those cooling towers are meant to take a 747 flying into them. What they were trying to blow up was the nuclear storage facilities for spent fuel rods. So Plan B, that's failed now. Plan B is a dirty nuke. Now, for those of you who don't know what a dirty nuke is, it's not really a nuclear bomb. It's a radiation bomb. It's a terrorist weapon. Basically, you slap together as much nuclear material as you can find, of any sort, put it to a conventional explosive warhead or bomb, blow it up, and scatter nuclear radiation all over the place. Not that many people die. Most of the people that die from the blast die from the conventional blast, or the explosives. But then you contaminate the area around you. You contaminate people. They started dying from radiation exposure, from cancers, and so on and so on. So I mean, it's a terrorist. It's an absolute terrorist weapon. It's a nuclear terrorist weapon, which it should send shivers down the vast majority of your spines. If they're not, there's something seriously wrong with you. You need to look in the mirror and look for help. So Zylinskis has flat out even spoken about this. They're slapping together a dirty nuke, or radiation bomb. And as our media has reported, has come out with Minister of Defense Shoigu, with Minister of International Affairs Lavrov, with various ZAM ministers, have all been stating the same thing. Zylinskis, to understand where the information is coming from, there are a lot of people in the Ukrainian government that are working for Russia. That's right, in intelligence. They know what's going on. They don't want this war. They have no control over their own country, because it's not even a vassal. It's barely even a colony. It's a meat factory for the West, for America. They just throw meat at trying to weaken Russia. And they understand that. To the West, that they're nothing but meat. Expendable. And all their possessions are going to be owned by the West if Ukraine wins. And they're just going to be dead, at best. Starving and miserable at worst. Or dying slowly. As an example of this, earlier on, about 5 months ago, the SBU, the Security Services of Ukraine, NSA equivalent, the entire database of all the militia heads all over, and militia members are supposed to be carrying on this guerrilla war against Russia in all parts of Ukraine, was handed over or leaked through to Russian special services. So yeah, that's why Zylinskis' little guerrilla war theory or desires collapsed pretty quickly, because it's who's in it, who's the leader, where their addresses are. So they were rounded up pretty quickly. And that's when Zylinskis got the big embarrassment, when the head of the militia movement, or the main commander in Zaporozhye, he and his wife publicly went and applied for Russian citizenship and said, "We want to live in a country with a future." That was big embarrassment. So this information is being leaked. In Ukraine right now, they're taking Tochka U, which is an old missile, and they're trying to make it look like a Iskandar, which is a modern missile with stealth capabilities. The modern versions of Iskandar. They're going to pack all the nuclear material they have. In this case, it's spent fuel rods from Chernobyl. Shoot it from the edge of the battlefield towards Belarus, and then knock it down and scream, "See, the Russians are try to use a tactical nuke." The interesting thing, first of all, about nuclear material. Each nuclear reactor has its own fingerprint in the isotopes that it creates. And they're all registered. They're all registered with the National Atomic Agency. So any material that you pick up that came from a registered reactor, and you're talking spent fuel rods from enriched uranium, it's pretty quick to determine which reactor that material actually came from. But of course, nobody's going to check, because the Western media, which is there for only one reason, to probably drive you into supporting a war where your children will die, even if it's a conventional war. Your children will be sent off, and your husbands, because the slaughterhouse that's waiting for any NATO. There's going to be no gloves, like there are no gloves for the Poles. They get slaughtered. They don't get taken prisoner. They get slaughtered. We had the gloves on for the Ukrainians because that's our people. They're Russians with their brains turned inside out, but they're still our people. Poles and the rest of NATO, they're not our people. There's going to be no mercy given. So, the media is there to railroad you into supporting a world war, at least shutting the hell up. And why till the 8th? Because the Republicans have figured out this has gone too far. And the MAGA Republicans coming in, they want peace. They want negotiations. They want a step down and end this insanity. That Biden, his handlers in the deep state, the Democrats as a whole, this rotten edifice that is the Democratic Party. I mean, satanic and rotten to the core, with very few exceptions. People like Tulsi Gabbard, who ran from this crap party, has gone. I mean, the Democrats are the National Socialist Workers Party. We won't say the N-word, but that's what that N-word means. They are 1930s, 1940 up to 45 party. That's what they are. And they've proven themselves, except they're much more even those guys at the end didn't do the things that these guys are ready to do, and far from the end. So consider what I'm telling you. They're going to try to do the Black Swan of all Black Swan events. That may start a nuclear war, but in the minimal, it's going to start NATO's entry into this war and expand this conventional war by attacking Russia, Belarus. There are tons of videos out from people in the Baltics showing NATO equipment, just echelons and convoys of NATO equipment piling up on the Russian-Belarus border, and the Poles moving in, piling up on the border. The 101st Air Mobile Screaming Eagles are in, at least elements of them are in Romania. And everything's piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up. And of course, this won't stay in Ukraine. The moment NATO enters the war officially, all those American ships all over the place, they are fair targets. And already on the radio today, I've stated all civilian infrastructure that's being used for this war, like most of your satellites, even though they're not military satellites, are fair targets, and they will be taken down. Russia has the lasers to do it, ground-based laser units, has the missiles to do it. And most of those satellites are in low orbit anyways. And they fly in nice straight vectors. That's how things work. So, I mean, understand that your government is planning not only to probably steal these elections, but to start a war. And it's going to go further than just a war against Russia, evil Putin, evil Russians and all that. Because the moment there's a real war started, and you're railroaded into that war and told to shut up and take it as it is, that very government, that very FBI that's now hunting down Trump supporters that are closest to Trump, is not going to be going after the big guys anymore. Their hands are going to be fully untied. Those FBI SWAT teams are coming after everybody. When your politicians are telling you that the MAGA conservatives, that's what, 70, 80 million people, are enemies of the state. Well, some politicians even screaming that they should be killed. Out of re-education camps, ladies and gentlemen. Just quick solution. Understand where this is going. They're coming for you. But they need an excuse. We are that excuse. The war in Ukraine is that excuse. Stay safe. Be with God. Peace.